My dear friends, perhaps the conversation ended many hours ago. The room is dark now. The house has grown quiet. No one is speaking your name. No one is standing before you. And yet, inside the small chamber of your mind, the argument is still alive. You hear the sentence again. You hear the tone. You see the face turning away. The message left unanswered. The moment when your heart felt unseen. Your body is lying down, but something in you is still standing there, trying to explain, trying to prove, trying to win. The jaw tightens. The chest becomes warm. The hand reaches, almost without knowing, toward the phone, as if one more sentence could finally make the other person understand. But tonight, my dear friends, we will not sharpen another word. We will not enter the courtroom of the mind. There is an old Buddhist parable for this kind of night, a story of blind hands touching only one part of a great elephant, and mistaking that part for the whole. Let us listen slowly. And as we listen, my dear friends, let us be very gentle with the one inside us who still wants to be right. This story is not here to shame that one. It is not here to say your pain was imagined, or that your memory cannot be trusted, or that you should become silent while another person wounds you. No, sometimes what you touched was real. A word was spoken. A promise was broken. A face turned away at the very moment you needed kindness. The hurt in your chest may be telling the truth about something, but a wound can tell the truth and still not tell the whole story. A hand can touch something real and still not touch all of it. In the Buddhist parable we will hear tonight, retold in Old Path White Clouds, the Buddha offers a simple image for this. Blind men touching different parts of one great elephant. Each hand finds something. Each hand is certain. And yet, certainty alone does not make the whole elephant appear. So tonight, we are not throwing away your part of the truth. We are only loosening the fist around it. We are making a little space beside what you know for what you have not yet seen. And perhaps, in that small space, the mind can stop fighting long enough for the body to rest. So before we enter the story, my dear friends, let us return for a moment to the body that has carried this argument for you. Do not ask it to let go all at once. A hand that has been holding pain cannot always open simply because we tell it to open. Just notice the shoulders. Perhaps they have been lifted, as if still preparing to defend you. Let them lower a little, not as a command, but as leaves settling after the wind has passed. Notice the jaw. It may still be holding the words you did not say. Let the teeth separate by the smallest space. Let the tongue rest. Let the face become less like a shield. Now feel the chest. Maybe there is warmth there. Maybe tightness. Maybe a quiet ache where the need to be understood has been sitting for hours. You do not need to push it away. Only breathe near it. Feel the bed beneath you, patient and wordless, lifting the weight of your back, your legs, your tired hands. For this one breath, my dear friends, you do not have to win. You only have to arrive. And so, my dear friends, let us walk quietly now into the old city of Savatthi. It was the rainy season. The air was soft with dampness. The earth held the deep scent of water and clay. Paths that had been dry in the heat were now darkened by rain. Leaves shone under the pale light of the season, and every sound seemed to travel more slowly through the moist air. During that rain's retreat, many ascetics and Brahmins from many different schools had come into Savatthi. Their teachings were offered in many places. People from the capital were invited to listen. Disciples went, sat among the crowds, and heard the doctrines of one teacher placed beside the doctrines of another. At first, my dear friends, it may have sounded like learning. A question was raised. An answer was given. Another teacher replied. Another view was brought forward. But little by little, the space between the words grew smaller. The voices became sharper. The hands that had rested quietly on knees began to move. Faces warmed. Breath shortened. Each teacher believed his own doctrine was correct, and the doctrine of another was mistaken. What began as discussion slowly became heat. What began as inquiry slowly became defense. And when the disciples returned, they told the Blessed One what they had seen and heard, how the debates had grown heavy, how the words had become harsh, how people who were seeking truth had begun to wound one another in the name of truth. The Buddha listened. He did not hurry to add another argument. He did not pick up a sword made of words. Instead, in the quiet way of one who sees deeply, he offered them a story, a simple story, a king, an elephant, and several men who had never seen the light. Before we enter that story, my dear friends, let us not look down upon those who were arguing in Savatthi. They were not foolish people. Many had spent long years memorizing sacred words, walking dusty roads, fasting in forests, sitting beneath trees, searching for a door out of suffering. Their robes may have been worn by weather. Their feet may have known the roughness of village paths. Their voices carried discipline, study, longing, and the heavy loneliness of those who have given their lives to a view. A person does not hold a doctrine tightly only because he loves being right. Often, he holds it because without it, he does not know where to stand. So when another teacher spoke against his belief, it did not feel like a small difference in thought. It felt like the ground moving beneath his feet. The chest tightened. The eyes became narrow. The breath rose higher. The hand that once rested open on the knee began to close. He was not only defending an idea, he was defending the years he had spent believing it, the teacher who had given it to him, the sacrifices he had made for it, the secret hope that, at last, he had found something certain in a world where everything changes. And the disciples who came back to tell the Buddha what they had heard were not above this human weakness. They had ears. They had minds. They had their own preferences, their own loyalties, their own subtle wish that their path would be seen as the true one. But the Buddha, my dear friends, listened from a deeper stillness. He did not need to make the others small in order for the Dharma to be vast. He saw that beneath harsh words there is often fear. Beneath certainty there is often a trembling place. Beneath the wish to win, there is often the wish not to disappear. Perhaps you know this place too. Perhaps in your own argument, you were not only defending a point, perhaps you were defending the part of you that was afraid of being unseen. This is why the Buddha chose a story, not a weapon. A story can enter where accusation cannot. A story can place an elephant in the dark and let every closed hand reveal itself. And so the Buddha told them this parable. My dear friends, there was once a king. He called together several men who had been blind from birth. These were not men pretending not to see. They had never known the shape of a road disappearing into distance, never seen the color of dawn on a wall, never watched another face soften with kindness or harden with anger. The world had always come to them through sound, through scent, through the nearness of breath, through the pressure of earth beneath the feet, through the honesty of the hand. Then the king had an elephant brought before them. Imagine, my dear friends, not with the eyes, but with the body, the slow weight of that living creature, the quiet heat of its skin, the patient breath moving through its great frame, the slight shifting of enormous feet upon the ground. To those who could see, the elephant was one animal, large, complete, standing there in its own wholeness. But to these men, the elephant could only arrive in pieces, not because they were foolish, not because they were dishonest, but because each hand could only reach where it had been placed. One man was guided toward one part, another toward another. Each stood close to the same living truth, yet each met it from a different place. This is important. My dear friends, the elephant did not become many elephants. The truth did not become many truths. There was one elephant, but each man's body met only a portion of it. A hand touched something solid and thought, "This is it." Another hand touched something different and thought, "No, this is it." And how natural that is. When the hand has never seen the hole, the part beneath the palm feels like the whole world. So the king asked them what the elephant was like, and each man prepared to answer from the only place he could answer from, the small doorway of his own touch. In that moment, before a single argument began, the whole teaching was already present. The elephant was silent, the hands were certain, and between silence and certainty, suffering was waiting to be born. Then, my dear friends, each man touched the elephant. One man placed his hands upon a leg. Beneath his palms, there was something round, firm, unmoving, wide enough that his arms could not easily surround it. To him, the elephant was like the pillar of a house, strong, upright, rooted in the earth. Another man was led to the tail. His fingers found something narrow, hanging, moving lightly at the end. It brushed through his hand like a fly whisk. So he knew, with the confidence of touch, that the elephant was like a fly whisk. Another touched the ear. It was broad, thin, flexible, spreading and folding beneath his hand. It moved like something woven, something used in the village to hold or sift. And he said the elephant was like a basket. Another man touched the tusk. Smooth, hard, pointed, cool beneath the fingers. It did not feel alive in the way the warm skin had felt alive. It felt like a stake driven into the ground. So, to him, that was the elephant. Another touched the belly. Large, rounded, full, a great curved surface rising before him like a bin that could hold grain. His hands moved across it and found no end quickly. So his answer came from that fullness. Another touched the head. Heavy, rounded, solid, close to the breath. To him, the elephant was like a water jar. And listen carefully, my dear friends. Each one had touched something real. The leg was real. The tail was real. The ear, the tusk, the belly, the head, all were real. No one had invented what his hand had met. But the hand is a small door. And when a small door believes it has become the whole house, suffering begins to enter quietly. And then, my dear friends, the trouble began. Each man had answered from the place where his own hand had touched. And because the touch had been real, each answer felt complete. The one who had touched the leg could not understand the one who spoke of a fly whisk. How could an elephant be thin and moving when his palms had met something firm, round, and rooted like a pillar? The one who had touched the tail could not accept the one who spoke of a basket. How could an elephant be broad and flat when his fingers had felt something narrow, hanging lightly in the air? The one who had touched the ear heard the others and felt the heat of certainty rise in him. The one who had touched the tusk held tightly to the memory of that smooth, hard point. The one who had touched the belly knew the great fullness beneath his hands. The one who had touched the head trusted the weight and roundness he had met. Each man had a fragment. Each man had sincerity. Each man had contact. But sincerity, my dear friends, does not become wisdom when it refuses to make room. Soon, they could no longer hear one another. Their voices rose. Their breath shortened. The hand that had touched the elephant now touched the air, making shapes of argument. The body leaned forward. The face tightened. A man who, a moment before, had been exploring something living with his palm, was now defending a conclusion with his whole chest. And the elephant remained there, silent, whole, unaffected by their names for it. The elephant did not become a pillar because one man said pillar. It did not become a fly whisk because another man said fly whisk. It did not become a basket, or a stake, or a grain bin, or a water jar. It simply stood. But in the minds of the men, the one living elephant had already been broken into pieces. This is how suffering often begins. My dear friends, not because we touched nothing, but because we touched something, and then closed the door. A thought becomes a word. A word becomes a sharper word. A sharper word becomes a wall. And then two people stand on opposite sides of that wall, each holding one small piece of something real, each wondering why the other cannot see the whole. The king watched their fierce disagreement. But the Buddha was showing something much deeper than a quarrel. He was showing how quickly a hand can become a fist when it forgets the vastness of what it has not touched. And here, my dear friends, the Buddha opened the heart of the parable. He was not saying that the men had touched nothing. He was not saying their hands had lied. The man at the leg had truly touched the leg. The man at the tail had truly touched the tail. The man at the ear, the tusk, the belly, the head, each had met something real beneath his palm. But what is real is not always complete. A candle may truly light one corner of a room, but it does not show the whole house. A cup may truly hold water, but it does not contain the river. A hand may truly touch the elephant, but it cannot become the elephant. This was the quiet wound beneath their quarrel. Each man trusted his contact. Each man trusted his certainty. But none of them bowed to the mystery of what had not yet been touched. The Buddha was pointing to this. My dear friends, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, may be only a part of the truth. And when we take that part and call it the whole, we do not protect truth. We bend it around ourselves. The elephant remained whole. Only the minds around it became divided. And so the teaching is not to throw away what we have seen. It is not to become weak, confused, or silent before harm. It is to become humbled before the size of reality. To say quietly within ourselves, this is what I have touched, and there may be more. This is the doorway through which wisdom enters. Not through the loudest voice, not through the fastest reply, not through the final sentence that defeats another person. Wisdom enters through the small opening where certainty softens, where the hand still remembers what it touched, but no longer claims to hold the whole elephant. And now, my dear friends, let the parable turn gently toward your own heart. Think of the argument that followed you into this night. Perhaps it was not about an elephant. Perhaps it was about a sentence someone spoke at dinner, a message that arrived too cold, a silence that felt like rejection, a decision at work that made you feel unseen, a person you love looking at the same moment, the same history, the same wound, and somehow touching a different part of it. You touched something real. Do not rush to deny that. If the words hurt, they hurt. If the silence felt heavy, it was heavy. If the memory returned again and again, there was something in it asking to be understood. But, my dear friends, can we look with tenderness at the next step? After the hurt came the story. After the story came the certainty. After the certainty came the wall. The mind said, now I know who they are. They never listen. They do not care. They are always like this. They will never understand me. And with each sentence, the whole living person before you became smaller. A mother became one sentence. A partner became one mistake. A friend became one absence. A coworker became one sharp email. This is how a hand becomes a world. This is how a single touched place becomes the entire elephant. Not because you are bad, not because your pain is false, but because the frightened mind wants completion quickly. It wants a final picture. Even if the picture is too small, it would rather hold a painful certainty than rest in the open space of not knowing. And this is where the old story becomes medicine. You do not have to throw away what you touched. You do not have to pretend the words were kind if they were not kind. You do not have to excuse harm. You only have to whisper inwardly. This is the part one touched. And there may be more. There may be fear you did not see, history you did not hear, a wound in the other person that spoke through clumsy words, a wound in yourself that heard more than was spoken. My dear friends, this does not settle the argument. It does something more important for tonight. It loosens the hand that was trying to turn one painful part into the whole truth. My dear friends, this kind of humility is often misunderstood. Some people think humility means lowering the head before whatever happens. They think it means allowing others to speak carelessly, to wound us, to dismiss what we have lived through, while we smile and call it peace. But that is not the humility of the path. That is only another form of fear. The humility revealed by the parable is much quieter and much stronger. It is the humility of a hand that knows it has touched something real, but does not pretend to have touched everything. It is the humility of a mind that can say, "I have seen this much," without needing to say, "This is all there is." My dear friends, when we are hurt, the mind wants to become a fortress. It gathers evidence. It repeats sentences. It builds a small room out of one moment and then sits inside that room, calling it truth. But the Dharma invites us into a wider space. Not a space where harm disappears. Not a space where wrong becomes right. But a space where we stop confusing our pain with complete knowledge. A person is more than the sentence they spoke. A relationship is more than one evening of failure. A conflict is more than the part that burned your chest. And you, too, are more than your need to be right. When we remember this, speech changes. We do not have to speak weakly. We do not have to hide what hurt. But we may speak more slowly. We may leave a little room between the wound and the word. We may listen, not because the other person has already earned our agreement, but because reality is larger than the first shape our pain gives it. This is not surrender. This is clear seeing. To cling to a partial view is to live in a narrow room. To open around that view is to step outside and feel the sky. The elephant is still there. The hand is still there. The part you touched is still there. But now, my dear friends, there is also space. And in that space, wisdom does not shout. It breathes. And now, my dear friends, let the elephant return with you into the ordinary rooms of your life. Not as an animal standing before a king, but as the unseen wholeness inside every conflict. At a family table, one person touches old fear and calls it disrespect. Another touches exhaustion and calls it protection. A child, now grown, hears one sentence and feels again the small loneliness of years ago. In a marriage, one person touches silence and says, "You do not love me." Another touches pressure and says, "I am only trying to survive." Between them, the elephant stands, made of love, fear, memory, tiredness, pride, and words neither one yet knows how to speak. At work, an email arrives with a cold edge. Your chest tightens. The mind quickly touches the tusk and says, "They are against me." But perhaps there is also a hurried morning, a frightened supervisor, a burden you cannot see, even on a glowing screen. My dear friends, a sentence appears, and the whole body reacts. A stranger becomes an enemy. A friend becomes a position. A human being becomes one opinion. One mistake. One sharp little piece of the elephant. This is why the night becomes so long. We are not only remembering what happened, we are holding the part we touched, turning it over and over in the dark, asking it to explain the whole. But a single part cannot do that. So tonight, perhaps we do not need to solve the whole relationship. We do not need to decide the entire truth before morning. We only need to notice the hand. Is it closing? Is it burning? Is it still trying to turn one painful place into the whole living elephant? My dear friends, let that question be enough for now. So now, my dear friends, let the old story become very small and very near. Not a king, not a crowd, not even the voices of the blind men arguing in the dark. Only this one hand, resting here, in this quiet room. Perhaps it has been holding a part of the elephant all night. A sentence, a silence, a look, a wound. Let the hand know that it does not have to drop everything at once. It does not have to forgive before it is ready. It does not have to agree. It does not have to pretend that pain did not visit. Only this much is enough. This is the part one touched. And there may be more. Let those words be soft inside you, like a lamp placed far away at the end of a hallway. Feel the bed beneath your body again. Feel the weight of your shoulders being received. Feel the breath moving in and out. Not to solve anything, not to prove anything, only to keep you company. The elephant is larger than tonight's argument. The truth is larger than the sentence still turning in your mind. And you, my dear friends, are larger than the part of you that had to be right in order to feel safe. So let the argument sleep before you wake it again. Let the hand rest. Let the jaw soften. Let the chest become quiet. For now, nothing more is required. Only breathing, only resting, only returning, gently, to the vastness that no single hand can hold.